What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. So let's get into this one. So one of the best fights of the night was Dave Allen versus Johnny the Rumford Bull Fisher. So we had the White Rhino in Dave Allen versus Johnny the Rumford Bull Fisher. So this was one of those fights where it definitely didn't disappoint. It was an absolute slugfest, and it's one of those where I think upon watching it live and looking at a few highlights after, I think it was the wrong result. I would say it was a relatively close fight. You had Johnny Fisher doing quite well early in the fight, but showing some vulnerabilities, and he had a big sort of lack of defense. He's the young man sort of in the ascendancy, and obviously Dave Allen is kind of on his way out of boxing. He doesn't need to box anymore. He's sort of made his money, and he's kind of I suppose, sort of a British level-ish type of fighter. But yeah, this was a fight where it was very close in the beginning. I think, Johnny Fisher had the better of the action in sort of the early part of the fight. But then, Dave Allen, he had his successes as well. A lot of the punches thrown by these guys were sort of wide and kind of wild and everything. But for me, where I think the fight was won was in the second half of it, where Dave Allen, he was able to score a knockdown on Johnny Fisher. It was a very, very messy knockdown. It was a bit of a cuff, and it looked almost like a bit of a push and a punch, or a sort of cuffing hook type punch. That it didn't look to have much on it. But yeah, for me, with that knockdown included, and Dave Allen sort of having the better of the action towards the tail end of the fight, because it was one of those fights where it was like a fight of two halves, where you had a lot of success for Johnny Fisher in the early part of the fight, but then as the fight went on, as the rounds sort of wore on, there was a lot more success for Dave Allen. There were several points in the fight, especially towards the latter part, where it looks like Dave Allen could stop Johnny Fisher. It looked like just one more clean blow, and that would have been it for Johnny Fisher. He would have been gone. He would have been out of it. But yeah, it turned out not to be the case. He lasted a distance, and yeah, for me, it's was a great fight to watch, and it's one of those where maybe we can see it again in a rematch or something like that. But yeah, overall, I thought Dave Allen done enough to win, especially considering the knockdown too. I thought Dave Allen at least done enough to win it by a couple of rounds, couple of points. But it was a slugfest. It did go back and forth, but Dave Allen just had slightly the better of the action, and a lot of Johnny Fisher's sort of novice-y mistakes came out and stuff, and he made a lot of mistakes defensively, and he was quite wide open to be hit. There were times where Fisher was sort of crossing his legs as he's coming forward. So there were lots of mistakes there, and both men were quite exhausted. But by the end of it, even by by about halfway through the fight, but for me, Dave Allen sort of outfought Johnny Fisher and landed the better shots, and certainly deserved to win. Was an out and out slugfest. Very, very good fight, but for me, should have been Dave Allen's hand that was raised. I mean, I suppose when you deal with guys like Johnny Fisher, big ticket sellers, younger man, I suppose that if anyone's gonna get a bit of favour with the judges, it's gonna be him, because he's kind of he's kind of a cash cow in a sense. I mean, not on the scale of a Canelo or those sort of guys, but on a domestically, he does sell a lot of tickets. So he's the guy that can sort of curry favor. Whereas Dave Allen, he's a guy that's on his way out pretty much. So yeah. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts were on this fight. Do you agree? It should have been Dave Allen that won it, or disagree? Let me know what you think. Until next time, it's MKO Boxing over and out.